In England, we're not often growing our own food, and a lot of the food that we're purchasing has either been processed or treated. Good nutrition lowers your risk of developing chronic disease.
Okay.
And promotes good health.
Okay.
You don't have healthy fats in your diet, your cells aren't healthy. If you don't have healthy cells, your tissues aren't healthy. Your body isn't functioning as optimally as it should. One study showed that 7.8 million deaths in a course of 1 year could have been avoided if people had.
What are like benefits and what are the implications of being an avid drinker of coffee? Welcome to the Takeoff Experience, where I sit down with highly driven people to talk about their journey, their failures, and their successes. If you want to take off in your career, your business, your finances, or your mindset, then this podcast is for you. This episode is sponsored by Money Hub, a secure money management app that helps you to manage your money with ease. The Money Hub app provides you with a single view of all your accounts by letting you connect your bank accounts, your savings accounts, investment accounts, your credit cards, all in one place. To help with your money goals, Money Hub has features that allows you to track your incomings versus your outgoings every single month, and also allows you to set and track your spending budgets every single month too. It's a fantastic app, right? Well, you can download the Money Hub app for free by tapping the link in my description. You can use the Money Hub app free for 6 months with no auto renewal. And if you really like the app, then you can continue using it for only £1.49 per month. It's a deal of the century, right? Well, make sure to go and download the app right now. Enjoy the rest of the episode. Welcome back to the Takeoff Experience. We have a special guest in the building. Rochelle, how are you doing today?
I'm good. A little nervous.
Nervous?
As I said to you before.
Yeah?
But no, I'm good. It's really good to be here. I'm excited as well.
I'm excited for this conversation as well because I actually thought about it. I've never spoken to a nutritionist before. So I think it's going to be a very insightful conversation. I think it's going to be an important conversation. And I'm sure you're going to drop us with a lot of gems and insights as well.
Try.
Yeah. So just going back, who is Rochelle? Tell the people who you are.
I am first a believer and lover and follower of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. I am a creative.
Okay.
I create in terms of writing. I write poetry. I do spoken word. Even at church, I'm on the team where we design flyers, which also brings me to the fact that I'm a developer. So if you give me something, I will develop it, whether it's an idea, whether it's a flyer, as I just mentioned. I like to advance things to their fullest capacity. I am a family-orientated person.
Okay.
I love my family. I am a cat lover. Yeah, I think I got everything. I probably didn't, to be honest, but that's a few things for you to work on.
Yeah, and I think, it doesn't have to be extensive, right? I think there's so many facets to who we are, but I'm sure that you talked about the parts that, are most important to yourself. I wanted to go back into your story. Where exactly are your parents from?
So my family are from Jamaica. My father was born in Jamaica. My mum was born in Britain, but she would class herself as a Jamaican as well, because our family's Jamaican.
And have you been to Jamaica before?
So many times.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful. I am so grateful. I love the country so much. I love the heat. I love the sunshine. I love the fact that I can, for instance, when I was at my aunt's home, she just went to an ackee tree, took the fruit from the tree, washed it and put it in the pan and seasoned it. And, obviously I know we're going to talk about nutrition, but that was just so beautiful to see. In England, we're not often growing our own food, and a lot of the food that we're purchasing has either been processed or treated. And just to see my aunt do that, it just felt so good to be in Jamaica. And obviously other places around the world, you can easily do that as well. I just love the culture. I love our history as well. I'm an overcomer. And I think with a lot of Jamaicans, Caribbeans, and Africans, I think we are overcomers. And yeah, that's
Agreed.
Jamaica.
Agreed. We are overcomers for sure. Oh my God, I love that. I could talk about Jamaica. I've never been to Jamaica. I is on the list. For sure. I am going to the Caribbean this year.
Good.
So it's going to be nice to go to somewhere else that's not Africa.
Yeah.
And see it. Yeah, I'm very, very excited about that.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
So I actually found out that a large part of my DNA ancestry is Nigerian.
Really?
Yeah, so I'm trying to learn a bit more about Nigerian culture, but as much as I have, my family roots in Jamaica, I appreciate that I'm largely of West African ancestry.
Wow. Wow. Have you been to Nigeria?
No.
It's got to come. It's got to go on the list.
It's on my list.
Yeah. It's amazing. Nigeria is nice. I think when you go there, you'll just smile.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. No. I don't want to spoil it for you. I want you to kind of have your experience. I don't want to talk too much. I'm sure that you've probably heard from people what it's like. The Nigerian elections are going on right now as well, actually.
Yes, I
So,
know.
yeah, people are following that closely. But yeah, I'm sure people have given you perceptions. But I think it's just one of them places that you kind of have to just go yourself and then see it for yourself and see what it is. So did you mention that you were born in London?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whereabouts in London were you raised?
I was actually born in South, but
Okay.
I've mostly lived in East.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Mostly East. What was that like for you, like growing up in East London?
Do I say interesting? Interesting. I mean, at the time, I guess there wasn't much that I could compare it to, but when you look back, you can say, oh yeah, that happened. So I went to a secondary school that was a girls' school.
Okay.
And, girls can be a bit, can I say the word? A bit bitchy.
Okay. I think I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. They, it was interesting. I mean, I appreciate the school. I believe our motto was aiming for excellence. And then when the school felt like they achieved excellence, it was learning for life.
Right. Okay.
And that is, I would say, it's become my motto now. Maybe not as conscious as the motto being told in your face every day at school, but I definitely, one of the ways that I see myself is as a constant student, constant avid learner. So, attending that school, it had its good points, as many schools do. It being a girls' school and us going through those teenage years and hormones and whatnot, sometimes it was a bit stressful.
Okay. Right.
But all in all, it was a good secondary school. And then even sixth form, one thing that I appreciate is that these schools were quite multicultural.
Okay.
So I got to see snippets of life from different cultures and different backgrounds, different faiths. East London is actually a nice melting pot where you get to experience different cultures. And in my career as a nutritionist, I try and apply it to making sure that I help people, but in the realms of what they're most likely going to eat. So, for instance, if someone is from a West African culture and they eat certain foods, I'm fairly versed in those foods, and I can tell them what things to have and what things potentially they should reduce. So I appreciate East London for that.
Okay, cool.
And my schools and everything and my friends. Yeah, East London was interesting.
Okay,
it's interesting.
Yes.
I'm
it's
still there.
Interesting. It's still interesting, to be honest. East London, big up East London. So okay, so you mentioned that you went to college. Actually, what when you went to university, what did you actually study at uni?
So I studied molecular medicine.
Molecular medicine. Did you know that's obviously you chose that? I guess why did you choose molecular medicine? That's such a specific
because
degree to choose.
I knew that it would give me the tools I needed. So molecular medicine actually includes conventional medical studies such as physiology, the functions of your tissues as well as anatomy, your structure. But then it also looks at microbiology and biochemistry, which is looking more at the specific pathways in the cells. And then once you understand that, you begin to understand how disease affects these pathways, or pathways affects these diseases, and how pharmaceutical interventions can be used to affect those pathways.
Wow.
So I knew it would give me the foundation that I needed in terms of health. And, when I was younger, I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a scientist. I wanted to be a nurse. I wanted to be everything, but you can see a trend. I had a mind for science. I had a mind for health. And so that was my trajectory. And molecular medicine provided the foundation for me.
Where did that mind for science, I guess, come from? Was it like, where did it come from? Yeah.
So that's a good question. I think, I don't know, everyone has different personalities, different likes, different interests, but within me, I had an interest to know how things worked. For some reason, science excited me. I can distinctly remember wanting my mum to give me money for this mobile library that came to my primary school, and there was this physics book in there, and it was interactive. It wasn't just boring physics, it was interactive, and it just excited me. I don't know how to explain it. I have an interest to understand why things happen, what's going on, how do interventions affect things, chemical reactions. I just enjoyed it.
Wow, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like you were born to be a scientist. Some people say they're born to be like a basketball or footballer. I don't think I've heard many people say that they've been born to be a scientist, but then some people are born to be scientists, I think. They do have the mind for it. I think.
I believe that God creates people, and we're not clone copies of each other. We have diverse thoughts and interests and ideas. So someone's gonna have a desire for science, someone's gonna have a desire for football. But I think also with me, God gave me another desire or another quality, which was understanding the fragility of life. And from a young age, I had that sense about me. So I'd be quite empathetic towards people who were suffering. At one point, I just have so many thoughts in my head. This is what it's like. I'm just trying to catch up with my thoughts, and but I can remember one time when I was very young. My great grandmother was alive. I was looking at her hands and holding her hands, and I actually started to cry, and my family didn't understand what was going on. It's like, Rochelle, you okay? And what they came to understand, and what I come to understand, is that I appreciated that she was older, she had her ailments, and that life was not forever. And I was very young at the time. And just by being at church from a young age as well, I was always surrounded by adults, and I just saw all the infirmities that they would have. And so I, as well as the kind of love of science developing, there was this compassion and empathy developing for people suffering, especially when it came to health.
Wow. Wow. So is that why you went down the nutrition route?
Yeah. So that's I'll level with you. I actually did desire to be a doctor. And then a dietitian.
Doctor, dietitian. Okay, can you talk me through what happened there? Yeah.
Even the scientist and the nurse.
Okay.
I'll try and talk you through. So studied molecular medicine.
Mm-hmm.
At the end, I didn't actually have the grades to go into medicine, so I thought, why bother applying? But at the same time, something else was happening within me. I had already experienced complementary medicine when the normal healthcare couldn't fully help my conditions. So you'll find that a lot of nutritionists have or had complex health conditions that perhaps normal healthcare wasn't able to fully help with. And so they're looking for that additional support. And so as a child, good grief, I had so many issues. And so my mum actually took me to chiropractors because of the slight curvature in my spine and pain. I had bad asthma. My mum took me to a herbalist. I had allergies. My mom took me to, a kinesiologist. And, those things helped me. So although at one point, I had the mindset for conventional medicine, I still had this experience of complementary medicine supporting me. So when I finished university, I started looking at the other options that would complement conventional orthodox medicine.
Okay. Wow. Wow. That's so interesting. So do you believe that you went down the nutritionist route because, like you said, you had health stuff that you wanted to deal with, right? That was very specific that you couldn't get support on. So you wanted to figure that out yourself. Is that what you were saying? Trying to paraphrase what you were saying.
So I think, half, well, I'm not sure about half, but I would say a percentage of my thought process was that, yes. But then even more so, I wanted to really understand how nutrition affects health more. So I understood the pathways of disease through molecular medicine, but I wanted to understand more about nutrition. And one of the things that studies show is that doctors are saying that they don't feel like they have enough nutritional science in their 5 and additional years of learning. So if I could deal with the root and the foundation of disease and good health, then I could help many people. Remember, I had this sense and could see people, especially those that were older, struggling and suffering from different health conditions. And I just felt like if I could deal with the root, if we could deal with, what you're drinking, what you're eating, then, the job's half done, so to speak. Yeah,
that makes sense. And I feel like nutrition, I don't know how much, and we're going to talk about this a bit. I don't think we put that much effort into it, to be honest. Like I said, I've never spoken to a nutritionist ever, which is not good, right? Like, so how am I supposed to know what's good for, I guess we might have a slight idea, okay, vegetables generally are supposed to be good for you, but which ones, fried foods are not good for you generally. But again, I guess we'll speak about it a little bit more. I wanted to take it back. So your first role as a nutritionist, how did that come about? I guess, how did you get there?
So 2015, I actually started working for a private doctor in Harley Street.
Right, okay.
And so the role is, because I'm still doing it today, part-time.
Okay.
So it's personal assistant / medical secretary, but then he has us, and I say plural us because those who also have my role are nutritionists. Okay. So he picked very well. And why he picked nutritionists as, personal assistants and medical secretaries was because he knew that many of his patients are going to be asking questions that he's not necessarily going to have time to deal with, but who can deal with it.
Yeah.
So us nutritionists. So yes, that's been a role that I've been doing since university. And how I got it was that the head of my course is also a nurse, as well as being a registered nutritional therapist. And she used to work for him in York, where I studied. And then he moved to London. And she told us about this role and told me, and I applied, and I didn't even get the job, immediately.
Okay.
It wasn't until 9 months later that he phoned me and was like, if you still want this job, it's yours. And the reason for me not getting the job at the time was because I think he felt that someone was more qualified in the sense of using Apple Macs, or
seriously,
or was it to do with the accounting side of it?
Okay.
So Xero, accounting software.
Okay.
Xero.
Zero.
Like
XEXERO. Yeah.
So I had no experience of Xero, and not that much experience of Apple Macs at the time, I guess. Yeah, and so that was a bit of a concern, but everything else I had. And so when I did get the job, funny enough, I picked these things up very quickly. And it got to a point where sometimes they're asking me for help with the Apple computers.
Okay.
And the, not so much Xero, because they're all proficient. They're wonderful. But yeah, it's just really funny the way how things turn out. I have just so many thoughts going through my head as I'm speaking about it with you. One of them is to be grateful, because when I didn't get the job, there was an opportunity for me to be like, I didn't get this job.
Yeah.
But that's not the stance that I took. At the time, I was working for a specialist eye care company as an eye care technician. And, I just said, I'm still very grateful that I have this current job, and I know that things are coming my way. So
wow,
yeah,
that's amazing. And I think networking is important, right? Because you got it through your network, right?
Yes.
That's how you got it, and you're still working at this job today.
Yeah,
which is
part-time.
crazy. Talking about that, you started a business, Elle Rock
Nutrition.
Elle Rock Nutrition, right? At what point did you start that, and what was the motivation to start it?
So mid 2016.
Okay.
Towards the end. Motivation. Well, the motivation is to prevent unnecessary suffering.
Right.
It's going back to that sense and feeling that I had and have since a child. So I want to give people the tools to be in health and live in freedom. There's just so many things that we can do with our diet, our nutrition, our lifestyles that can help us live better lives. And so, yeah, that's my motivation, or part of it.
Love it. And you still have that motivation
Yeah.
to today. What I'm curious about this. What are your day-to-day and week-to-week activities, in your business?
Yeah. So, part-time private doctor, and then in my own time, I'm doing the usual things like checking emails from clients as well as prospective clients. I'm taking discovery calls, so I use an app called Calendly, and brilliant app.
Yeah, I heard that's great.
Allows people to just book 15 minutes with me to talk for free, and just to find out if I'm the right practitioner for them, and how my services can help them achieve their goals. So I'm having discovery calls. I could be doing research, and that could be research for upcoming consultation. It could be research for an article, a blog post, a social media post. I am, what else am I doing? I want to say bookkeeping, but sometimes that's just like left till December and January. Naughty. What else am I doing? So there's some clients who are with me for more of a longer term period, and so they're sending me their diet diaries. They're sending me pictures of what they're eating, and then I'm giving them feedback on that.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it offers accountability.
Yeah. Do some of them shy away from sending you pictures?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I always encourage people to be as honest with me and as accurate. I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to feedback and point you in the right direction. And if you want the most from me as a practitioner, you have to just be honest and open. And I imagine it's the same in, other therapies like CBT and seeing psychologists, it's that kind of same patient or client relationship that's required.
Wow, that's amazing. On that note, what is the benefit of having a nutritionist? Really sell it to me.
Really sell it. Okay. So good nutrition lowers your risk of developing chronic disease.
Okay.
And promotes good health.
Okay.
When you have someone like me, they're going to use nutritional science to help you lower your risk of chronic conditions and increase your risk of good health.
Okay. Wow. that's the elevator pitch. That's like an epic elevator pitch. It's not too wordy. It's very specific, straight to the point, and it tells me how I can be helped.
I have more wordy elevator pitches than that, so we thank God for the shorter version.
So what are you trying to achieve with Elle Rock Nutrition? Like, what's the, I guess, I don't want to call it end goal, but what are you trying to achieve with it?
Okay, so as I mentioned, really giving people the tools so that they are able to live and be in health, not suffer unnecessary. And I think unnecessary is a key word, because once you have the knowledge to lower your risk from chronic disease, then, why are you suffering?
Yeah.
So really giving people the tools. So how do I do that in the best and effective way? Well, one of the things that I would like to do is reach vulnerable adults in residential care homes. I actually used to work in a residential care home. I'd like to reach prisons and schools, and I believe that they would have by reaching these people would have such a maximum effect on society. So end goal, or my thought process, is to expand my reach. That could potentially also involve courses as well. podcast.
Okay, that would be very interesting.
Might need to call you.
It is an untapped area, and like I said, the knowledge is not there. So I think it's important.
Yeah.
Again, which is why I wanted to seek you out and do this episode, because this is not a conversation. I've never had this conversation with anybody. We said this off camera. I've never had this kind of conversation about anybody. It's all assumptions on what we think is good to eat and what's what's bad to eat. So yeah, I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful that you're here.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. So what tools would you say that you've gained during your time, running your business?
Oh, tools. I'll talk about things that I've learned.
Yeah.
Right. So I've learned that it's so good to find someone who understands business better than you do.
Right.
So I actually do have a business mentor, and when I was starting out, I managed to get onto the Princess Trust Enterprise, and they helped me so much. They give you the fundamentals in starting a business. They gave you a template for the business plan. They helped by providing workshops on how to fill that plan out. They brought in professionals, people with such experience to speak to us, answer questions and help. So, and then I have my business mentor. So that's one of my tips. One of my tools that I've gained is, finding someone who understands the craft better than yourself. I've learned to use Calendly, which is a brilliant app, as I mentioned before.
What were you using before that? Nothing.
Yeah.
You getting DMs.
Basically.
Oh gosh, man. That's crazy. Yeah. It's funny, right? Like before these systems were here, probably were struggling with these other things, right? Yeah.
Right. So automation is key. So even in the job that I'm working in now, just being observant of the clinical practice so I can adopt them to my own practices. Even clinical forms, not copying them because, the doctor's work is slightly different from my own, but I can still take things. Yeah. So sometimes it's good to get experience in an area. If you can work a few months or a year in an area that is close to your field, so that you can just gain little insights. There are always insights to be gained. Ba-dum-bum-bum. I know there are so many more tools.
If you think of any throughout the conversation, let us know.
Okay, so just outsourcing and investing in yourself. Okay. So outsourcing in the sense, like I did, of paying someone to design your website. Now, I could have potentially designed my website, and I don't know if it would have looked like the one that I have today, but I could have done something, but that would have taken me a long time to learn. I would have had to have looked at all the YouTube tutorials and try my best coding, which I really don't know how to do. And all to save myself, a few £100. Whereas when you outsource, and you have to be wise in doing so, but when you outsource, you're letting the person use their abilities to help you, and you free up your time to do what you need to do in your area of expertise. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Amazing. I was wondering, what are some of the challenges that you've faced, I guess, with your business, and how have you, I guess, overcome them?
So one of the honest challenges that I have faced is dealing with the imposter syndrome.
Right. Okay.
Which I know is a term that is being used a lot these days, but yeah, that's been difficult at times. But one of the ways that I have gotten over it is by remembering what I'm doing, like going right back to the root of why I'm doing this. What's my mission? What's my passion? Why am I here? Why is this business here? So that helps. And clients not filling out their forms.
That's just people just don't like to fill in admin forms because it's lazy. Not another form to fill in again.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and this is why I thank God for my business mentor, because he was like, Rochelle, yeah, if you send out a form, especially before someone has paid, it could put them off. Not because the form is bad, but it's just a bit comprehensive. But once you take a person's money, that increases compliance like nobody's business. So that simple change just really helped get the ball rolling.
Okay.
That's why you just need someone else to advise you and encourage you. It's so helpful.
Yeah, it's funny because they're right. They're absolutely right. Like, people do not play with their money. People do not play with their money. They'll make sure they get their money's worth. So they're going to fill in that form. Yes. They're going to come and get their session. They're going to do everything. So yeah, absolutely right. That is, wow. That's great. That's great. That's great feedback. In terms of your successes, what would you say are some of your biggest successes?
So client-wise, a recent client actually told me that the female chronic health condition that she has, within just a few months of seeing me, all her symptoms went. Right, and wow. It's not that I'm surprised, oh my gosh, but it was just really good to hear that when you know that someone's going through pain and, feeling discomfort, and to hear that all the symptoms have gone. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And buy food and nutrition. And then another thing was, sometimes I try and keep in touch with old clients, or sometimes I might even just bump into someone, and someone's an elderly client's daughter told me that their mother was still following the things that I had
Wow.
recommended, and she believes that's one of the reasons why the mother is still here today. And the mother is, I think, mid-90s onwards.
Wow.
So that's
insane.
Yeah, that was really good. This is what I'm here for. It's a blessing to hear.
Wow, that's amazing. I love hearing stories like that, because you're actually doing something that's actually having a real impact, and it's having an impact on people's health. We only have one health, right? If that goes, then there's not much you can do, right?
There it is.
You only have it once. You only have one heart. You're not getting another one. Really, realistically, you're not going to get another heart.
Easy.
It's not easy to anyway. I know some people transplant and stuff like that, but generally speaking, it's not something else that you get. Okay, cool. So want to now talk about nutrition and health, because this is where this is what I'm very, very curious about. So plantain, I eat plantain. Not all the time, not as much as I used to when I was living at home. I probably don't eat it as much now. But it is a favorite amongst African and Caribbean community.
Yeah.
And it can be a regular part of the diet. So I wanted to know, what are the dangers of it being a regular part of someone's diet?
What are the dangers of plantain? Gosh, I feel like people could come for me.
And what are the benefits as well? Okay. Yeah, let's not just, we can do, let's keep it balanced.
Yes, please. So plantain, I know for my Caribbean people, plantain, but plantain is high in fiber.
Yeah.
So fiber is great for our digestive system, for getting rid of toxins and excess hormones and used cholesterol. So fiber, and feeding those gut microbes as well. Fiber is great. Plantain also contains, it's a rich source in vitamin A, great for eyes and the immune system, as well as vitamin C and vitamin B6, which is good for the absorption of magnesium. And it also contains magnesium and potassium, which is great for regulating your blood pressure. It is a starchy fruit. So when it comes to, starchy foods, I would say try not to fill more than a quarter of your plate or your meal with those starchy vegetables or starchy fruit. Okay. But when it does come to plantain, another thing that I would just want people to be aware of is, if they're frying it, what type of oils they're frying it in. So you can have certain type of oils that are mainly polyunsaturated fats, and I know that might sound like a big term, but essentially those types of fat, like corn oil and soy oil and sunflower oil, they can be quite chemically sensitive and not very heat resistant. So when you heat and fry foods in those types of oils, they can produce things, oxidants, free radicals, that can harm us.
Really?
Or create,
they're harmful. Oh, and I thought it was healthier. Oh my God.
So if you have,
this is why we're having this conversation.
So with certain oils, like hemp oil and flaxseed oil, you can have them cold pressed, and you can just have them cold, and don't heat them. But there are other oils like saturated fats, monounsaturated fats, such as coconut oil and avocado oil, which are more heat resistant and less chemically sensitive. So those are the types of oils to be frying with at higher temperatures.
Really? Oh my gosh. Gosh. But you know why I avoided those, right? It's because it seems like they're fattier. So that's why I avoided coconut oil and the other one not avocado. I don't know. I didn't know avocado oil existed.
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah. I don't love the taste, but it's okay with certain foods.
Yeah.
Because I believe variety is the spice of life, so I do try and change it up. But you know what? I don't blame you at all, because there have been so many different things in the news and in the press over the years. Fats are bad, coconut is bad, they used to say all of these things, but as science progresses and prevails and studies are done, we begin to understand that actually coconut and coconut oil is good for you.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Healthy fats are necessary for living, for life.
Okay.
If you don't have healthy fats in your diet, your cells aren't healthy. If you don't have healthy cells, your tissues aren't healthy. Your body isn't functioning as optimally as it should.
Wow. Okay. Wow, that's so interesting. Okay, so the plantain didn't sound too bad. It sounds more bad depending on the oil you should use to fry it, right? But if you're like boiling, some people I've had boiled plantain,
right,
and with yam. shout out to the Nigerians that eat. I don't know if anybody eats that apart from Nigerians. I'm not sure if anybody eats
Jamaicans.
What, boiled yam and plantain?
Plantain, yeah. Okay.
Boiled plantain.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
we don't really have boiled plantain in my house. We do, we do plantain different ways. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
sorry.
oven as well.
I take it back.
Oven bake. No, it's all right. It's all right. But yeah, try it out one time. Okay, so another favorite of mine. This is like a Nigerian staple, jollof rice, right? From a nutritionist point of view, what's your thoughts on jollof rice?
So, put nutrition to the side for a second. I love jollof rice. Okay, put the hat back on. So, a few thoughts, and just once again thinking about people potentially in the comment section, but don't come for me. No, so there's ways to make things healthy, and I think one of the keys to life and nutrition diet is everything in moderation. So when it comes to jollof rice, I would love to see people having brown rice instead of white rice.
Never ever seen it before. Jollof rice.
And some people might be like, oh no, I'm not going to try brown rice, but you can try something, and then if you don't like it, come back to me, we'll talk. But the importance is that you try first. So that's one thing. I just wish that, because, sorry, I need to add a bit more context. So why brown rice and not white rice is because white rice is refined. So it's been stripped of nutrients. It's been stripped of its bran. So it means that it has less fiber in it. It has less of B vitamins that we need for energy, and a process called methylation. It's just been stripped of so much that, and on top of that, it doesn't balance your blood sugar as well as you would want something to. Okay. So when you have whole grain foods like brown rice, it balances your blood sugar better than if you had the refined, stripped version of that food. So that's why I encourage people. Yeah. And when your blood sugar levels are out of balance, your insulin, which is a hormone that deals with the blood sugar, it goes up and down, and that can cause havoc on your cravings, your energy levels, your satiety, which is the feeling of being full, and in the presence of high blood sugar, glucose, and high insulin, your body starts to store fat, which for a lot of people, they don't want that. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why I'm always, I like to talk about blood sugar. I like to talk about whole grain foods. And then I guess the other thing that I would say with jollof rice is just to try and ensure that when you are using seasoning, and this is not just for jollof, this is across the board when you're cooking with food, when you're using seasoning, ensure that it doesn't have monosodium glutamate in it, which is a flavor enhancer that is often added to food. I think sometimes the number is E621. I hope that's right. But it's not good for the human body. Too much glutamate in your system can be quite toxic, like neurotoxin, and so that's not something we want. So yeah, just be aware what's in your seasoning. If you can do your seasoning from scratch, that's fantastic. And if you can try and have brown whole grain rice to use.
Okay. What was the effect of that? I don't know what that word you said.
MSG.
Yeah. Okay, that's MSG. So that's another name for MSG. MSG is I know that's on pizzas and stuff like that, and that's what makes it taste good, right?
Well, yeah, we perceive it to taste better.
Okay. And okay, so what are the effects of that, I guess, over the long term for your health?
So, well, one of the effects is that it can so it gives you additional glutamate that you shouldn't have.
Okay.
From this artificial source. And having too much glutamate in the system can harm your nervous system, your neurons. And even in bipolar disorder, sometimes you'll see too much or high amounts of glutamate within that condition. So MSG, we don't really want it in our food.
Wow. Well, I probably can't answer you this question, but I'm just thinking, so why do they just put it in the food when it's not good for us?
But I tell you could answer about so many things.
Yeah, there are a lot of things. I mean, okay, this is scary stuff. I know that this is an important conversation to have with you, but it's a little bit scary. It's a bit scary.
It is good news as well.
It's good.
This is why I talk about the tools. So if we're just a bit more if we have the knowledge and then we become more observant when we're buying things. Like people see me when I'm eating, I'm just constantly looking at labels. I'm like, Rochelle, but this is what I do.
It's important.
I enjoy it as well. But if people just looked at labels a bit more, and if there's things on labels that you don't understand, you don't recognize, it looks like a chemical, it's probably best to try and avoid it or reduce it in your diet. So don't be scared, just apply this wisdom.
No, to be honest, I think you're right. I think we consume stuff that we don't even know what it is. Let's be real. We did study science at uni, so do we even know what it is? We just telling is this extract, is that, but did any of us actually go online to I mean, some people might actually go online and search, but majority of us don't search online and see what this is and if it's actually harming us. We kind of trust that because we're in the UK and that they have certain standards, it shouldn't harm us. I think that's what we're kind of relying on, but okay. So which food is bad for us, but it doesn't have the reputation that is bad for us? So, for example, we obviously know, I think we know that fried chicken is not great for us, right? That's got a reputation. But are there any foods out there that don't have that reputation, but actually they're not great for us?
Can I say energy drinks?
You can say whatever you want.
Because sometimes, and I guess from more of a media standpoint, they're, advertised as, it's going to keep you awake. It's going to keep you functional, your cognitive function. It's going to increase your performance in the gym. But, these drinks tend to be very high in caffeine, very high in artificial things again.
Yeah.
And some of them could even be potentially high in sugar. You have to watch out for these ones. And so what these things do, they might give you temporary energy, but it's going to cost you later on. You'll be at a deficit. So yeah, I'm not a fan of energy drinks, even though I lived on them in uni.
Yeah, I think most of us lived on them
And Pro
in
Plus.
uni. Yeah. Yeah, and Pro Plus. It's so crazy. So I guess the question is why do people go for energy drinks, right? To give them energy, and what alternatives, I guess, should they be trying to cure the source of the issue, or should they try to find good alternatives to energy drinks?
Oh, absolutely. They should try and find a source. And, this is partly what we nutritional therapists do. We try and look at what is going on, what is the root cause. So, sometimes your energy could be low because you haven't slept that well. Sometimes you need to either improve in terms of not eating so late, so your body is having to deal with all that excess food and the digestion. Sometimes it's because we're not exposing ourselves to light earlier on in the day. Sometimes we're exposing ourselves to blue light right into the night. Sometimes it's a lack of magnesium. And so, once you start looking at your life, like, what are you doing? Is there stress? Are you not eating dark green leafy vegetables that will help you with your magnesium intake? And then when you look at the root cause, try and deal with it to the best of your ability. I mean, obviously, if you're going to work and you're tired and you need something to pick you up, you could consider an alternative. Try and have a protein and fat snack, and I'm sure you'll be able to find some carbs that will accompany it, because sometimes it's quite hard to avoid carbs for some people.
Yeah.
But some people just need to quickly grab a protein little boiled egg.
Yeah.
Can I mention night shops and stuff? Pret do this little egg. I don't really eat egg like that, but they just do this little egg container. Sometimes the energy is because your blood sugar isn't balanced, and that's your body is calling for all the macronutrients, protein, fat, and yes, maybe a bit of carbs, and so you just need to eat. Sometimes it's that simple. You don't need to be reaching for like a high sugar or high caffeinated drink. Sometimes it's just about eating the right foods to give you that energy, that fuel back.
Yeah. Wow. On that topic, what foods would you say are good for us to add to our diet? I know there's loads of foods, but what would be like some of your recommended ones?
Okay, so where do I start? So add whole foods. So whole grain foods that are not processed much. Add fats.
Okay.
Healthy fats.
Okay.
So that could look like oily fish. That could look like nuts and seeds. Add healthy protein. That could look like meat, poultry, fish, again, white fish, eggs, which also contain fat as well, and nuts and seeds are high in protein as well. Start adding those foods, especially into your meals. A lot of people's breakfasts are very carb dense, carb heavy. Start adding protein and fat into your breakfast. You will have more energy to expend throughout the day. What else should you add? Yes, vegetables. And I feel like me saying that, people will just feel like it's a cliche.
Yeah.
But how do I make it not a cliche? Let me give you a statistic. One study showed that I think 7.8 million deaths in a course of 1 year could have been avoided if people had around 10 portions of vegetables and fruit per day. And so when I tell people minimum 5, but aim for 7 portions of veg and fruit, oh, it's too hard. But if I tell you, you are lowering your risk of untimely death. 7.8 million people didn't need to die. I'm talking about strokes, cardiovascular disease, coronary heart disease, all these things that people didn't need to go through. And the key was to eat more veg and fruit.
That's crazy. That's wow. That is actually, that's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy. It's our habits, right?
Right.
Wow. That's amazing. Thank you so much. Talking about fat, right? And this was something that was taking the world by storm, keto diet, right? Now, I know from my understanding, keto diet had something to do with fats, like eating a lot of fats, but I don't know what type of fats. Now, I've heard you talk about healthy fats. I guess, what are your thoughts on the keto diet itself? It's not so, nobody really talks about it anymore, but a couple years back, everybody was talking about this diet.
It's all the rage.
Yeah.
So there are different versions of the ketogenic diet. And yeah, you're right. It's a diet that it includes high fat and low carbs.
Yeah.
And so, especially short term, it can be very effective. So it can be very effective for weight loss because the body becomes more adapted to burning fat, your fat. And it has been used, I know, with sufferers of epilepsy. It has been shown to reduce inflammation in the body. So there are benefits for short-term usage of the keto diet, but one has to be careful. When you do low carb, you will be getting low fiber. And when you have low fiber, you're not supporting your digestive system. You're not supporting the community of microbes, bacteria, yeast, fungi. Did I get that all right? You're not supporting the microbes in your gut, and that can cause problems. That can cause inflammation, which is not good for the body at all. So, and there are a few other risks as well. One is you have to be very careful with your bone health. But yeah, so there are positives, especially when it's done short term. At work, actually, when I work for the doctor, we tend to use a modified version of the ketogenic diet. And we definitely look at including low carb vegetables.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a good alternative. Low carb. And what are these low carb vegetables? I wouldn't know of any off heads. Is spinach one?
Yeah, leafy greens.
Leafy greens. Okay, so like your spinach, your kale would be good one. Lettuce
rocket,
as well.
Lettuce.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Huh. Okay. So leafy greens. Okay. So that's where I'll be looking at the leafy greens. So we were talking about pick-me-ups a bit earlier, like energy drinks, and one of probably the number one, it's not even defined as an energy drink. The number one pick-me-up is probably coffee. Coffee has got, I would say, coffee's got the world addicted. I'm personally not a coffee drinker. I don't really. I've never really bought into it. I don't feel I need it. I don't need it. If I'm tired, I just naturally just wake up throughout the day, and well, that's what happens, right? You do things, you get energized, you forget that you're tired. Of course, yes, you might be flagging, but I don't need coffee to, let me, plus I don't really like it because it makes me feel, I think, wired at times. But some people drink that, like, 2-3 times a day, maybe even more. I think I went to Prep to get a hot chocolate, Of course, this was at like 6 p.m., right? And people were getting coffee at 6 p.m. I'm thinking, are you going to be able to go to sleep tonight?
There it
Like,
is.
literally drinking. It's the end of the day. What are you thinking? What do you think? It was packed. Like, it was packed. Like, what are you thinking? So I'm guessing. I'm trying to understand what are, like, I guess, the benefits and what are the implications of, being, an avid drinker of coffee.
Good question. So this is another area where science and media and press, started off in a slightly different mentality or thought towards coffee. At times it has been deemed as bad. But once again, as science continues, investigations continue. Science largely agrees that coffee is a healthy drink if you can tolerate it well.
Okay.
So it's rich in antioxidants. It's actually been shown to lower the risk of developing dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's disease, I believe, as well. It has it has a protective effect on our neurons in our nervous system. So those are the benefits. But going back to kind of that toleration of it, if you are not sleeping well, if you're having problems with the quality of your sleep, going to sleep, falling asleep when you're in bed, you might need to consider whether caffeine is having an effect on you. And so then what you do is you might want to completely remove it or reduce it or have decaf or even change the time at which you stop having caffeine. So bring it earlier. Who else can't deal with caffeine too well? So those who might have something called suboptimal adrenal function, they might not always do so well with caffeine. And in terms of the amount that you should have in a day, well, I believe the range of caffeine, the maximum intake of caffeine is 300, 400 milligrams. And so each cup of coffee is around 100 milligrams.
So 3 cups is okay. It's okay for you. But if we're going to the 4, 5, and I'll question, why are you drinking 4, 5 of, like, you're drinking it like it's water at that point, right?
Yeah.
It's a bit
worrying.
Okay. I think a lot of listeners will breathe a sigh of relief and be like, yes, coffee's actually good for us. You need to join us on that side. Okay, that's a relief.
I still actually like to recommend, green tea. I guess a part of me is still like, science in, the media used to say it's bad. Yeah. So, I do remind people that there are other drinks out there. There is green tea. There are herbal drinks. I'm a lover of herbal tea and fruit tea. So, try other things. And it's, sometimes it's not always about getting to the maximum of something, as I said before, everything in moderation, but obviously when it comes to looking at things therapeutically and you're trying to get a therapeutic effect, then sometimes you have to look at getting a maximum or something, but that's a different story.
Amazing. Okay, so I'm gonna put a disclaimer here. People who are vegans, I know people who are vegans, do not come for us, because this is a conversation. We're opening up this conversation to the world. Again, we all want to have a better understanding, because I would imagine, there might be some vegans that do a massive amount of research, and there might be some vegans who are like, I want to be a vegan from an environmental perspective, or I don't like meat or whatever, right? But I guess from my perspective, I wanted to understand, again, what are the benefits and the drawbacks to being a vegan. So
when you are eating a vegan diet that is full of whole foods, so the lack of processed or very minimal processed foods, once again, you are getting those, you should be getting fiber, you should be getting so many nutrients, especially from all that vegetables and the fruit that you are eating, which is supporting the general maintenance of your health and your metabolism, whole food vegan diet and whole food vegetarian diet is good. The processed types of vegan and vegetarian diets, not so good.
Right.
You once again, you might buy something that is free from or vegan friendly, but it could have just so many fillers, excipients and things that have been added unnecessarily that might put a toll on your body to digest, to process, to detox, and that's not good. That's not what we're looking for. I do want to add as well that vegans and vegetarians, more so vegans, that they just pay attention and just be careful to keep their B12 level up, because vitamin B12 is largely found in meat products. And vitamin B12 is needed for your cells, energy, red blood cell function, everything. And so people need to be careful. Also, your zinc levels, make sure you're getting those nuts and seeds in, which are high in zinc. What else? There's so many things. Iron.
Okay.
Yes, there are plant-based forms of iron. And when you're having foods, vegan sources of iron, such as spinach, again, rich in iron.
Yeah. Okay.
It actually, these foods actually contain something that can actually reduce the absorption of iron. So although it's packed with iron, it can also reduce the absorption of iron.
Interesting.
And so what you should try and do is combine vitamin C when having vegan sources of iron, because vitamin C helps the uptake and absorption of iron. Vitamin A for your skin. Sometimes, once again, vitamin A is that vitamin that is quite prevalent in meats and animal products. And the plant version, beta carotene, not everyone can convert it well. I don't even think I convert it that well, because I've done my DNA testing, and I think the statistic is around 42% of people don't convert beta carotene well into the active form of vitamin A that we need. So you have to kind of be aware of that. And vitamin A, as I said, needed for your immune system. We've just come out of a pandemic. Needed for your eyes, healthy skin. So, some vegans and vegetarians, they need to be aware of these things and consider supplementation as well. Okay, that's a big thing. Yeah,
amazing. Of course, I'm a meat eater, so I want to ask this question. What are we talked about the benefits of meat and dairy. What are the drawbacks of meat and dairy? I think it's only fair, right? I've asked about the drawbacks of veganism. Let's ask about the drawbacks of meat eaters.
Okay. So once again, I think there are mixed views in regards to meat and dairy. One thing I'd say about meat is to make sure that you're not having processed meat.
Okay.
So them sausages that you have on Saturdays, like, maybe give them a miss.
Right.
For a long time. So processed red meat shouldn't really be in our diet, and if you are going to have it, it should be, rare. I think that's all I'm going to say on that for now.
Fair enough. Okay, I won't press you.
Sorry. One more thing.
Yeah.
I do, because I'm not a meat eater anymore.
This is interesting.
I just found my personal health is better without it. Although, I'm a practitioner who works with the individual, so I don't tell my clients not to eat meat unless I see there's a reason.
Right, okay.
But one thing I will say to people is to try and have organic meat, organic dairy. If you can't afford that, just try and make sure that the meat is grass-fed.
Okay.
As opposed to grain-fed.
Okay.
I could go into all of that, but if
Might
there's
have to do a
anything
part two.
if there's anything to take away, just organic and grass-fed meat.
Organic and grass. Okay, thank you so much for that, Gem. You did a post recently about the link between magnesium levels and cancer. Could you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so magnesium, I love magnesium. So essentially our diet is, especially in the Western world, is so full of processed fats, refined foods, and is often devoid of magnesium,
right,
which could predispose us to a lack or even a deficiency of magnesium, which is not good because magnesium is needed for so many things. It's needed for over 300 biochemical reactions in the body. It's needed for a healthy nervous system. It's needed for dealing with your blood sugar levels. It's needed for good sleep, cellular energy production, so many things. And so in relation to cancer, studies have shown that the lower your magnesium intake, the higher your risk of developing cancer.
Right. Okay.
And also, with some chemo drugs that lower magnesium, magnesium has to be administered to prevent kidney damage. That's with some drugs.
Okay.
And then an interesting fact on magnesium and cancer is that, well, another one rather, is that a higher dietary intake of magnesium is associated with lower mortality. So what does that mean? Lower death rate.
Okay.
Of all causes.
Really?
So that includes disease, dying from disease, dying from cancer, dying from an accident. If your dietary intake, this is science. I will send the paper to anyone who wants it. If your dietary intake of magnesium is higher, you are less likely to die.
Wow. That's amazing. So what do we need to eat to, beef ourselves up with magnesium?
Yes. So we need dark green leafy vegetables.
Okay. These leafy vegetables
are
good, right? They're good, right?
They are
They've
so
got everything.
good. This is why we got
Popeyes, right? With the muscle, right?
Yes.
That's the message he was trying to send us.
The media did something right there.
Yeah.
That's your spinach, your kale, your rocket, and then there are legumes, so black-eyed peas, kidney beans, chickpeas. Yeah. There are nuts and seeds, so your pumpkin seeds, your almond nuts, your cashew nuts, your Brazil nuts. There's dark chocolate, which I know a lot of people will be happy with dark chocolate.
Yes, they
Some
would.
people not so much, but dark chocolate is one.
Wow, that's amazing.
And even whole grains and pseudo grains like quinoa and buckwheat.
Okay. Wow, the vegetables are winning right now, right?
I'm telling
They're winning. Wow.
Yes.
Eat your greens, people.
Eat all the vegetables, because variety is the spice of life.
Yeah.
When you eat a varied diet, and especially different colors when it comes to your vegetables and fruits, you're actually eating different nutrients. Yeah. So, the nutrient that is good for your heart, lycopene, which is in the tomatoes, you're having that from tomatoes. The nutrients, as we talked about, magnesium, that is good for sleep, you're having that in your dark green leafy vegetables. So when you are having an array of things, it's good. Moderation and variety, spice of life.
Amazing. Okay, so another area, this is probably a lot of people's resolution this year. I want to get a 6-pack, or I want to lose weight, or whatever, right? They want to get their gym bod or their summer bod or whatever they want to call it, right? So I'm wondering what foods actually, I shouldn't even say help you, but they kind of do. They help you to gain weight, and what foods help you to lose weight?
Okay. So, to gain weight, well, it depends if you want to do it a healthy way or not. is to increase your carbs.
Okay.
Keeping it really simple.
Okay.
So carbohydrate foods, we know our rice, our pastas, but also the starchy vegetables, sweet potato, cassava, yam. Increasing the portion size of those will help you gain weight. And just if it is your desire to gain weight in that way, then just be aware of not reaching for bad carbs. Even increasing your protein intake as well can help you build muscle mass. So your poultry, your meat, your eggs, your nuts, your seeds. Yeah, just overall, when you increase your portions, you will gain weight. To lose weight, especially healthily, you reduce your portion of carbohydrates. You can do that, and you may want to choose carbohydrates that have a low glycemic index or low glycemic load. And what that means is you choose a carbohydrate that doesn't raise your blood sugar so quickly.
Right. Okay.
So once again, that's kind of going back to whole grain foods, but there's a plethora of lists on the internet, and lists that I give my clients where the low GI, the low glycemic index foods are listed. So it's not too much of a struggle to work out what to eat, because weight loss is very largely about blood sugar and insulin balancing, blood glucose, sugar, and insulin balancing. So when you start to reduce your carbohydrate intake safely, healthily, increasing the good fats, increasing the protein, that's a way to reduce the weight, and just including those vegetables and fruits that are low GI as well, if you are looking at different ways to lose your weight.
Okay. Amazing. As you were talking about protein and gaining weight, it just occurred to me that I took the decision maybe about a year and a half ago to stop. And this wasn't actually part of my list of questions. I just literally thought about it. I completely forgot about it. Protein powder. I stopped it for a very weird reason. I stopped it because of balding. Not that I'm balding. I'm not balding. But I was reading somewhere that, again, I'm not a scientist, right? That, again, I don't even want to go too much into it. Not that protein powder makes you bald, not that, but there's a link somewhere in terms of the intake of protein, right? So it's like, you know what, I'm gonna stop taking this thing that is like a bit unnatural. Let me just eat as much as I need to eat protein, and then so I guess what are your thoughts on protein powder? Because I'd imagine most people who go to the gym are gonna consume that. So
yeah. The funny thing is, my niche is not in sports nutrition. So I do give that as a disclaimer. So I hear what you're saying in terms of you sensing that you want something more natural, and you're not sure about the powders. I'm aware that, for instance, with whey protein, those who don't do well with dairy, sometimes they can potentially have a reaction. So, sports nutrition's not my niche.
Okay, cool. Fair enough. So I'm just wondering, what are some quick wins that someone can implement today?
If you can afford it, or if you want to invest in yourself, organic food. Have organic food, organic meat, organic veg, organic fruits. Lower your toxic load. That's one. We've already talked about healthy fats, your oily fish, using cold press oils, and using coconut oil and avocado oil to cook with. Another quick win, reduce those sugar sweetened beverages, please. and reduce refined foods, white flour foods, white rice, white pasta. Please.
Okay.
Make sure if you are going to have those types of food, have the whole grain version of it.
Amazing.
Yeah. And increase the vegetables and fruit. Have I not said that? I'm not sure.
I think we've said this.
I mentioned organic, but just increase the veg and fruit intake, please.
Amazing. I feel like I've learned so much from you today, Rochelle. And literally, I feel like it's changed my perception, because I eat white rice, I eat white pasta, I do eat vegetables, but I probably don't eat as much vegetables as I should. And when you were saying that statistic about, how many people died and they could have just been eating, more portions of vegetables, good vegetables, I was like, wow, that's startling. I didn't know that the impact was that big. And, I hope for the listeners and watchers that they've managed to find something that they can use for their diet. And I think like a lot of these things are not like things that are drastic. It's not saying that, okay, just cut out chocolate, never eat chocolate again. I think this is just something to introduce to your diet. So yeah, really appreciate you coming on the podcast today. What do you have planned next for yourself?
First of all, thank you for having me. It's been just awesome just having this talk. What do I have planned next? Good question. So I am in the background working on a book, which is it might take me a while, because I actually have another book that I desire to do, which is a spoken word book. So as much as I love nutrition, I love poetry and spoken word. As I said, it is a heart's desire to get more into the spaces where I'm dealing with bigger groups of people and people who will affect the rest of society as well. So schools, prisons. So it's about reaching out and networking, which is a word that you said earlier. I think that's key. And yes, I need to start this podcast. You and I might need to have a conversation.
Yes,
in
don't
the
worry.
future.
Look, you can do it.
And I feel like there is something else. And also, I'm considering getting more into corporate spaces and speaking to the workforce who are overworked, stressed, lacking energy, and I can just give them tips and tools that will help them not just become more effective employees, but just better wellness within themselves at all times.
Yeah. Amazing. I'm looking forward to seeing what that journey's like. And I hope I get the chance to talk to you about that again in the future as well.
That would be good.
I'm sure that listeners and watchers would
keep me accountable.
Like a repeat. Yeah, exactly. In a repeat episode to just see how you're growing the business. Where can people find you?
So I am on, I think, most social media platforms. My handle is Elle Rock Nutri. So that's ELLEROCKNUTRI. Elle Rock Nutri, and that's YouTube. That's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn. Everywhere. Probably apart from Snapchat. So please do connect with me there. If you have any questions, if you want a discovery call, happy to talk, happy to chat.
Amazing. And do you have any final words for watchers and listeners?
I'd say read labels. Anything you don't understand, put it back down. You know what generally is healthy and what generally is unhealthy. Every choice you make, you're opting for a healthier version of yourself or a slightly unhealthier version of yourself. So just remember what your goals are, what your dreams are, and how health will help you. And pick that food, eat that food, enjoy that spinach, enjoy that apple or whatever, enjoy it. And just think and enjoy.
Wow, amazing. That was powerful.
I hope
so. No, it was. It's true. You know what? When you put it like that, it's true. everything you do, especially when it comes to your health and eating, is a choice, right? And I think if you're listening to this and you're now informed, right? Like me, like I was not informed about this before. So now we're informed, right? So I guess from this point, and it's not our fault that we wasn't informed, right? Like, you know, again, just like personal finance, which I talk about a lot on the podcast, it's not like we knew, right? Now that we're informed, now we can make the correct informed decisions to make sure that we live a better, healthier life. So yeah, no, really, really appreciate you. Like I said, it was a very important conversation. Watchers, listeners, I hope that you've enjoyed this episode of the Takeoff Experience. Appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next week's episode.